The life story of Aimé Rapain, the Swiss artist without hands, is a tale of remarkable love for life, self-belief, and determination. Aimé produced over 3,000 paintings, many of which were acquired by museums in London, Berlin, Montreal, and New York. Her charm and sense of humor also made her incredibly popular with men, and many fell in love with her at first sight. However, it wasn't until she was 43 years old that she found her true calling. But let's start from the beginning. The name of Aimé Rapain, the Swiss artist, is not widely recognized by the general public, but anyone who loves painting should know of this talented woman. What sets her apart from all other artists, past and present, men and women alike, are her extraordinary physical features. Aimé was born without hands, and so she used her toes to create her stunning works of art. She painted portraits of children and adults, capturing their nuanced moods and emotions, and also had a penchant for depicting nudes. When it came to still lifes, she preferred to paint bouquets of flowers, and she was also skilled in graphic arts. Viewing her art, it is difficult for a person of normal disposition to comprehend that these highly artistic works were not created by human hands. The question arises, how did she do it? Aimé Rapain was born on February 14, 1868, in Perrin, Switzerland, into a family of 12 Protestant children. While her 5 older siblings were born healthy, Aimé was born without arms. Her father, Jules Rapain, worked as an insurance agent and was also an amateur painter and musician. In 1872, the family moved to Lausanne, where 6-year-old Aimé began taking drawing lessons with Professor M.D. Meinberg. At the age of 12, Aimé Rapain's father passed away, leaving her mother, Adeline Rapain-Kadori, to care for the family alone. Despite the added challenge of raising a daughter with physical limitations, Aimé's mother managed the household and raised her children with the help of her new husband. Aimé, who possessed a strong will and easygoing personality from a young age, did not envy her siblings and learned to use her toes for tasks that most people use their hands for, such as eating, picking flowers, and writing. She joked that the only thing that prevented her from living in peace was having to constantly wear a cape. At 14 years old, she began studying at a boarding school in Lausanne and continued to take drawing lessons from Meinberg. 1884, Aimé Rapain relocated to Geneva with her godmother, Miss Cap, and enrolled in a painting school. Miss Cap was an educated widow who had no children and always accompanied Aimé on her travels. Together, they visited Italy, Spain, Holland, and even traveled as far as Morocco and Tunisia. At the painting school, Aimé studied under Henry Eber for drawing, Hugh Bowie for sculpture, and Eliza Mayer for ceramics. However, the artist who had the greatest influence on her was Barthélemy Menn, who was friends with such distinguished figures as Eugène Delacroix, Jean-Baptiste Camille Corret, and George Sand. Aimé received numerous prestigious awards during her time, including 2 sculpture prizes and 1 first prize for the best portrait. "You are an artist from God," Menn once told her. After exhibiting her work at a university exhibition in Paris, Aimé began receiving orders from both England and France, quickly gaining recognition throughout Europe. Art connoisseurs praised her unique style of painting and ability to capture the psychology of her subjects in her portraits. Swiss poet and critic Pierre Ten even described her as New Verlaine. Notably, French actresses Regan and Sarah Bernard expressed interest in commissioning portraits from Aimé. Additionally, an American impresario once offered her a substantial sum of money to perform in theaters across America, believing that her ability to paint a picture in just 15 minutes would be a sensation. However, Aimé refused to exploit her physical characteristic for a show. In 1892, she settled in Geneva and established her workshop on the 6th floor of a building located at 1 Necker Street. 4 years later, she received a commission from the Swiss Society to create a painting titled Watchmaker, which is now considered one of her best works and is on display at the local museum. Every day she sat in front of the easel and worked tirelessly with her right foot, one by one creating beautiful graphic and pictorial works. She sometimes made medallions, for example, with images of Bach and Brahms. In a time free of creativity, Aimé liked to read lying in bed, turning pages of the book with her toes. Her attractive face, good character, and great talent contributed to many men proposing to her, but Aimé preferred to stay single. However, in her life for more than a quarter of a century, there was a man who filled the artist's heart with unlimited love. Now let's talk about the happiest period of Aimé's life, 1911. Aimé Rapain's life was marked by a meeting with deaf Armenian composer and pianist Stepan Elmas, who became her great love. She was 43 and Elmas was 49. It was a surprisingly moving love story. Stepan Elmas was from Smyrna, from an intelligent family. At the age of 15, he was in Europe, studying under the great Ferenc Liszt. From 1896 to 1908, he performed solo piano concerts in almost all major cities in Europe. He wrote sonatas, romances, ballades, mazurkas, waltzes. Notes with his music were published in Paris and Leipzig. In Europe, Elmas was called Armenian Chopin. Unfortunately, after an epidemic in 1887, when Elmas was ill with typhus, he lost some of his hearing. The composer's situation worsened in 1915, when the Armenian people were in a catastrophic situation due to the genocide. Elmas suffered this tragedy hard. His acquaintance with Aimé transformed him. The connection of fate linked the armless artist and the deaf composer with unbreakable bonds. They soon settled in a house near Lake Geneva, where Aimé continued to create her art. She, who was the eternal muse of the composer, painted portraits of her contemporaries using her feet, and captured the image of her beloved on canvas, as well as the members of his family. Stepan Elmas passed away in 1937, leaving Aimé behind for almost 20 years. After his death, she wrote to her friend and biographer Edko Grigor, saying, "Two eyes closed to the world, and the world changed for me. But perhaps it was a blessing of fate that for 26 years I had such a wonderful friend." He was a prolific artist throughout his life and left behind over 3,000 works, which are now housed in the Payern Museum.
To find a solution, you need to stop seeing the problem as an insurmountable barrier and start looking for opportunities. If you like strong stories, like and subscribe to the channel. See you soon.